not so much Panbazoo, the rest of the team for DarkZero. You had a quiet game from Hyper.
Yeah.
You had a quiet game from NJR. They didn't play poorly, but by their own standards, they should have been significantly better. Thank goodness that Eclipse and Panbazoo showed up for you. Strategically, both teams seem to have their moments and seem to suffer from some bobbles. Now we'll get into map number 2 of Coastline with the operator bans coming into effect. And you said, oh, when you saw the Maverick ban.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about this. The Kite is arguably a very obvious ban here. When you get the Thatcher off the board and the Maverick, it makes that outside VIP wall, that is now reinforceable by the way, very difficult to go through. So banning out the Kite makes it easier again. And you follow up with the Valkyrie, which of course is a staple on Coastline due to those outside Valkyrie cameras, which can still be placed, as the change to the cameras not being able to be put outside for more than 10 seconds did not go through this particular patch. So Valkyrie still very strong and would still be played probably most rounds if she was allowed to go through, but she was not.
We saw the sheer impact that Valkyrie had as well, played by Spacestation in just the earlier matchup, and one of the operators that was eliminated in the very first map, banned out by Spacestation, is going to be used immediately by Spacestation, and that's Finka. Hot and Cold is in so many ways the 6th pick / flex support for this team. He's going to roll with Finka right off of the bat. How many operators has Hot and Cold played now at this point? By my tally, 7 or 8 through those 15 rounds, which is quite an impressive showing for a player who does tend to stand out on his team.
Top of my head, I was going to go 7 as well, including the Finka now. That would be 7, I believe, but who knows. Very impressive from him, and of course them banning it, now bringing it, meant that it was a map-specific decision. It's not like they don't want to play the Finka, it's not like they hate the Finka, it's just that for Villa, they weren't about it, they want to bring it now instead. We're starting on Kitchen. It is DC once again finding themselves in the starting side of defense, which for this map is typically the opposite of Villa, where attack is typically favored. But of course, it all comes down to how do you attack, how do you defend, and who gets the opening kill. Those things are the questions that we must ask ourselves because they matter oh so very much, especially in this game in particular.
Twitch, the operator that was being brought out by DarkZero, now in the hands of Spacestation on Skies. Nothing really outside the norm for DZ's lineup here, other than the Oryx, which, by the way, like I've said, Oryx, we got to see a lot of Oryx play in Sweden on Coastline, and we were both immensely critical of Oryx's contribution. One of the things that is a major benefit is that this isn't a particularly vertical-heavy map, but there are a couple hatches that an Oryx can leap up sight unseen. Additionally, you can rotate through Coastline very quickly. Oryx is the fastest operator in the game, so if you need to get somewhere, you're going to go quick, like to the grave, by the way, because Spacestation just killed 3 players from DarkZero in the first 50 seconds. And it's Canadian.
Of fast.
Yeah, I mean, this one, they're...
It's right, Canadian has this. 1 versus 5. If there's anyone to do it, it's the OG in-game leader, captain for his team. Swings VIP hall, doesn't find any on the roof. The vertical happens, and all of a sudden, Framp's on the ground. But what happens after that? Does SSG say, oh, he's up above, we're gonna go down below, plant the bomb on side, Canadian. Now he's got the vertical holes, but there aren't that many in his favor. And, I mean, what can he do? He has 1 impact in his hand, he can make a hole, but that will be the end of that as he gets shot from across. But even that player over there has also dropped below.
Diffuser being planted, and both of the grenades, the smoke grenades, have been tossed out by Skies, whose now objective play is good. Spacestation managed to get down 3 diffusers in the 4 diffusers. Sorry, during the Villa matchup, which is quite an impressive number through the 7 rounds that they had. We'll make it 5 for their trouble, and the very first round goes in favor of Spacestation. A little fun fact for you. I love fun facts. I love them.
Don't do it, Parker.
On the Villa matchup, Spacestation did not gain the lead for the first time in the match until round 13. They either tied or trailed DarkZero the whole way until they needed to end up winning those rounds the most. Well, on Coastline, they're on attack on a presumably attacker-favored map, and they've already taken the very first round, and they've got their first lead far faster than they did on Villa.
Yeah, do you want to hear another fun fact, which I thought was the fun fact you were going to bring up?
Give me it.
SSG, they got the opening kill, and they got the opening round.
Yes.
So
It's happening again.
Well, so it's the first round, so I don't want to draw any conclusions yet. But I do think maybe NGR wants to do some reconstruction. He brought out the castle. It's a penthouse bomb site defense. I think that makes perfect sense. Penthouse is a bomb site where you want to close off some angles, open up some new ones, and in a perfect world, I think a lot of coaches would say, hey guys, let's bring the mirror for this one. But then again, we also know how efficient SSG they are with the buck, especially in a map such as Coastline. So maybe they thought, you know, the mirror, even though it is open, it's not going to do that much work for us. We don't want to risk it. They can open them from below, which is going to bite us in the butt. We're just going to bring the bare minimum, the castle, the Goyo, and the Wamai. Pambasu is still on the Oryx, the fastest operator, as you mentioned earlier, which the only thing that was actually fast last round was how quickly DarkZero fell to the grave. So let's see if Pambasu can maybe break a wall or two, or maybe find a kill or two this round.
I will say this. I have watched a lot of Rainbow Six Siege.
Really?
I know this might not surprise you.
Okay.
I've watched a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, and I cannot, for the life of me, recall any match where I thought to myself, hey, wow, that Oryx on Coastline is really good. Every single time when Dan on Empire was running an Oryx here on this map, every single time I just kept thinking to myself, there's something that I don't know. This is wasted potential. There are at least 3 other operators I can think of that would fit with this lineup better than what an Oryx brings. Now, maybe I'm crazy, maybe it's done for site rotation or site setup, and I'm just simply not seeing it. That's entirely the case. But I have yet to be convinced. So I say to you, DarkZero, convince me. Convince me, Pambazu, as to why Oryx is the right pick here.
I mean, not a bad thing to say at all. And honestly, I've played a fair bit of Siege in my time, and I'm on the same terms where Oryx is a bit of a overrated operator in my opinion as well. I rarely go, oh my god, that play was only doable by him.
Did you just say overroided?
Yeah,
How dare you shame him?
I kind of ended up with 2 different
it's just supplements, man.
in my mouth.
It's just supplements, man. First pick, by the way, is going to go to Spacestation. Upside down Repel, and Hyper was in a position where he was trapped behind that bar upstairs. And, well, Spacestation are just speed running this map. Through these 2 rounds, they're dominating in terms of kills, but Canadian has been the one standout performer. He has all of the kills for DarkZero, which, for the record, is 2. Not a very high tally. But he needs to, he's going to need to get a little bit more. Pambazu won't be able to find the board. NJR still has a hope and an opportunity. Spacestation closing in on the bomb site. All the action seemingly occurring over in hookah and billiards, but the focus from Spacestation has to be over on Penthouse and Theater. And Nitrocell from Canadian, he's the standout performer right now, but are these impactful kills? Well, it's hard to tell, because this is still a potential lost round for DZ.
I mean, they'll be very impactful if they manage to take those 2 kills into a round win, but there's still 2 versus 3 with Canadian very low on health as well, but the castle might now come into play as this castle barricade gives them some sort of cover, and they can also break it as it is prepared for them. Bottom right, you can see that on the castle barricade there. 1 punch, or maybe 2, should break it. Shield as well, maybe covered by a disc if they're lucky. Means only 30 seconds left. This means DarkZero in a stable position.
DarkZero have doubled up on where they're sitting as well, both looking towards the pretty telltale bomb site of B. No way to deny this whatsoever. Skies will repel on in pre-firing, and now he's in a default spot. Finka Burst goes out as well. Grenade toss to do some denial. Hot and Cold marching onwards, waiting for those silhouettes to appear. NJR pivots, and he knows where the diffuser is. A nice shot, and they've evened things apiece, though NJR taking some substantial damage in the process. Still the Finka boost going, and the overheal for SSG could prove quite good. Canadian will edge out towards Bosco. Shoulder being seen. Bosco capitalizing off of that, and it's NJR against the world. A 1v2. Diffuser at the halfway point. Bosco picks up both those final kills. Spacestation up 2-0.
My one advice to DarkZero that round will be if the Kite is banned, the Maverick is banned, the Thatcher is banned, maybe bring the Mute. And we spoke about, I mean, how do you bring a Mute? Well, there's only 5 operators on a lineup, and they already got their 5. Well, you do play the Oryx. We could go off the Oryx, maybe onto the Mute, or even a Bandit if you want to have a better gun. Get a denial on that VIP wall. Make SSG work for it. Force him to go down below into kitchen. Maybe have a roamer there. Kill a drone or 2. And then at least you gain something where, yes, they want to get the wall. Now you gotta set up a problem to solve. And then they gotta work on it. They gotta send the people, send the drones, solve the problem. And then they can breach the wall. Whereas they could just send Kit's guys all alone on VIP Repel. He could breach the walls single-handedly with no problem. And then 3 or 4 players of SSG can just collectively together work on that hookah side of the map and find 2 kills for themselves, meaning that they're working overtime everywhere on the map. You want to make sure, if you are defending, to try and cause problems, to slow down your attacking foes, and that's not what DarkZero has done so far in this match. Castle was a nice try, but there was no way for them to deny their planter because no C4, no toxic babe, so once Kids Guys rabbled in, it was all but done.
Did you just call him Kids Guys?
Kids Guys. That's his
At
name.
Kids Guys
At
on the
Kids
Twitter.
Guys.
No way
And
you're
OG.
referring.
Yeah. Back in my day, he was called Kids Guys.
You can't just refer to him by his Twitter handle. It doesn't work that way.
Alex, you know, I can call him Alex with a type like that. Albert Einstein.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, so far, Space Station on their entry, magnificent, and the pattern is still holding. So far, through all of the rounds that have been played between these two teams today, going back to round number 1 on Villa, the team that gets the opening first pick wins all the rounds, except for one. There was one time, just one single round.
Watch this. The team that gets the opening kill this round will lose.
Oh.
Wait.
Oh, dear God.
I'm gonna wave my hands.
Okay.
There. Now it's been manifested. It's been spoken into reality. It's just a matter of time. 2 minutes, 23, 22, 21. And as that timer ticks down, so does the curse. Opening kill engagement is right around the corner. It's between Panbasu and Rambi, which means they will show us who will be the loser based on who gets the kill.
Panbazu's still on this Oryx play, by the way, that we talked about so frequently. A grenade goes off, and hey, I guess the T5 hits its mark. DarkZero getting the very first pick, and just like that, using his dash to get out of there, Panbazu will cover a lot of ground very quickly. 1 minute off of the board, and it's Fultz down and out. Now, those grenades from Yana can be quite impactful, as with the Geminis to scout ahead. So that's a piece of utility from Space Station that they will be without for the remainder of this round.
Yeah, you get some Oryx value, you know, he got a kill, he did some things, now he's making his way through the map, could go up a hatch, but not yet. It's too early, it's too soon, but Rambo will start doing some vertical damage control down below, which means that SSG are setting up throughout this round for what looks to be like a stock bathroom take right now, by the looks of this.
The good news is that if you're SSG, you still have plenty working for you. DZ, of course, have that numbers advantage, so they're in a good spot, though Eclipse might have been droned out inside a main lobby. If that's the case, it could be relatively easy for Space Station to isolate him and punish him, unless there's a crossfire established somewhere that we simply aren't seeing. You talked about how teams like to sit at the skylight and be able to hold rotations. Well, that's exactly where Skies is. A nice pickup from Eclipse, but he's immediately ended by a grenade tossed out by Hot and Cold. Still the advantage in DZ's favor with a minute to go.
Yeah, it's looking actually okay for both teams here. If SSG can find one kill from verticality, I would say they're in a great spot, but if they can't, if NJR stays hidden in this position, which he does not, Rambi finds it, cast the curse, it's real in this one, and that is now SSG arguably in the driver's seat as DC has no side control.
And there's no skeleton key ammo as well left for Rampy, so the soft destruction that they had at their disposal is now gone. Sight control was something that DZ lacked. Well, guess what? They're going to look to retake. Leaving Panbazu in this floating position, but his leg's exposed, and Rampy doesn't need a skeleton key. He's got the C8 just powering away. Pistol out and on the ground, he can't tell, as both players from DZ look over in the same area. Hyper's engagement falters with 10 seconds left, and Canadian will need to hustle his way back to the bomb site. He's very far off. 7 seconds left in this round, and Skies will be able to get the diffuser down. Coverage from Bosco as Canadian cannot get to the bomb site in time, and it's 3 for 3 on diffusers. With a hope and a prayer, DZ will look to try to win the round, but there's too many angles from Space Station, and they're up 3-0.
Two things I want to take away from that round. First of all, it looked like a pink blue bar defense from DarkZero because they had such big priority on those particular area of the map that I thought either they had diffuser down there somehow or they genuinely thought that was the bomb site. It wasn't. It was kitchen stock. Second of all, I would like you to tell me, Parker, if you do remember, who got the opening kill that particular round?
I believe it was a man named Panbazu on DarkZero.
Who won the round?
I believe it was Space Station Gaming.
What does that mean?
It means that you were right.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible.
It's absolutely incredible.
We choose our own destiny here.
That we do.
In this wonderful city of Los Angeles, the city of angels, we get to choose miracles, and your miracle was to correctly call who got the round, which I think is a very odd use of that, but at the same time, I'm not going to judge it.
I mean, there are these things that, like, Siege has been a big part of my life growing up, especially in my, I say growing up when I was 18, but I was pretty immature for 18 years old, so growing up, and it still is, so using your wishes, where something is done good for you, want to do some good back.
And you know what some kids might be wishing for this year, Nick?
What?
To get the Space Station Zero cosmetic in their inbox from old Santa Claus, or whichever cosmic, religious, spiritual, festive being delivers gifts. I don't care. We're not.
You know what?
I don't care.
You know
who
what I believe in?
to be honest. But what I was saying is that it's the festive season. Maybe you want that skin. DarkZero has a skin in the game, by the way. It's available on Nomad's weapon, so you can go and get that if you want on the ARX.
And I am, technically speaking.
Technically speaking. Yeah.
I believe in something else, though. I believe in blitz supremacy. And that is something that Skies, of all people, are bringing out on Coastline, of all maps, on a blue bar, pink bar defense.
I know that we haven't seen it used in a while, but you remember the days fondly of the shield operators paired with Finca. It's like eating a nice rich cheese with a Pinot Noir, Nick. They just pair together so well, and I know that we don't see it all that often. DZ is a team that knows shield operators inside and out, by the way.
Yeah.
Mint, the coach, used to be one of the best shield players in the world, so I don't know if they're going to be prepared for what Skies can bring, but I will say, and I don't want to dampen your hopes, shields have not had the same impact over the last 6 to 8 months of Rainbow Six that we are used to having. So we can be all excited for the freight train of pain that Skies is going to bring, only to be let down.
I'm just very curious what the thought process is. Not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just very curious because this is like what we can call an original situation. It's not something that we see ever, especially not on Coastline, and not from SSG, not from Kid Skies himself, or Alex Skies, whichever term you want to use, one of the greatest smoke players out there, whichever. Canadian on the mirror, barricading this door, wanting to make sure that there's no flanks coming through, which indicates that, of course, that SSG is looking for an office, penthouse, or kitchen take, which, if you were to assume that, Canadian, you would be right. They are finding themselves primarily on the office and security side of things. Oh, and as Skies greets with the ADS, not knowing there's a person watching the fallback for his teammate, Pambasu gets the opening kill for his team, and that is DC.
Did you not talk about the opening pick not necessarily winning you the round? Does that magic continue onwards? Because for 2 rounds in a row, Panbazoo has been the one to get that opening pick. And DZ will continue to capitalize off of that as there's another player from Space Station to go down. That Blitz experiment is not going to happen, by the way. A 3v5 for Space Station. Very short-lived, yes, indeed. But DarkZero in the driver's seat, and they look to get even more from it. That's Eclipse to take down Rampy. And DarkZero are just cleaning up shop against Space Station, who are just helplessly wandering into their line of sight.
Yeah, I think that's a good term, like wandering, a little bit lost maybe as well, because it just seems like they're not sure exactly where to strike, where to hit, but InnerJar hits his shot, and this nade will not do much as NTR just swings the round with the shotgun in his hand. Flawless round, the first flawless round in this entire series.
And that is absolutely correct. Now, the numbers that we are looking at, if you are crunching those numbers, Space Station, through these 4 rounds that we have seen, have gotten the diffuser planted all 3 times that they went on to win the round, which adds to the 4 rounds on Villa that we saw. So, of the rounds that were played so far, Space Station have played 11 rounds of attack, and they have planted the diffuser 7 times. That is a remarkable feat. That is significantly higher than we see from almost every single team. There are very few teams competing at this level that are as objective-focused as we have seen Space Station thus far, and it's very obviously a coordinated effort for them to get in and plant the diffuser. It's not a reactive play. This is something that is thought out. This is premeditated. So that round in particular for DZ, they blunt their advance. It looks like Space Station gets a little bit cute with their operator lineup. They go for more fragging power, maybe to overwhelm DZ. It doesn't really work out. I wouldn't be surprised to see SSG go back to what's been working, go back to a more structured play, try to get the diffuser down and hold map control while doing it.
I am very curious if maybe SSG had this thought in their head that if they could just get to that bomb plant situation in the round, the late end of that round, if they could just kind of walk in with the blitz shield and get into a safe area, then proceed to plant, because other than that, I'm not entirely sure what was going to happen. But I do agree, both in Villa, and as we've seen so far on Coastline, 3 out of 4 attacking rounds so far, all the 3 they have won, they did indeed plant. And it's a mixture of, you know, DarkZero, they're not really playing necessarily like on the bomb site. We saw it on Penthouse, they were far back in 90 hallway. We saw it on Kitchen where they were in blue bar with 3 people. But I will say, yes, they're playing for it, it's premeditated, and you can tell from very early on in those first 3 rounds that they had a plan, and that plan was to plant. And often in Rainbow Six Siege, when you do plant the diffuser down, it is very, 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 very likely that you will win that round because those... Oh my lord.
Oh, 3
my
rounds
lord.
in a row. We were critical of the Oryx play, by the way, and at this point, it looks like it's the gun and the sight that Pambazoo is playing off of. You got T5, you got the 1.5, you get the kill, you immediately dash away. That's literally what Pambazoo is doing and how he's playing this out. I have not been impressed with the utility play of Oryx, mostly because there isn't a ton of utility to show off. But the gun is what Pambazoo is thriving on. He might only be 3-3, but all 3 of those kills were to give his team a numbers advantage, and the conversion rate for DarkZero right now at 50% could stretch upwards to 66 should they prevail after that very big pick on the hot and cold.
And that's certainly true, and I did ask the question, is Pamba gonna keep thriving as he did on Villa and take that momentum with him into the second game? And he had a bit of a slow start, but it's really starting to slowly ramp up. And speaking of ramping, Rampy using Bog down below is like a doctor. The precision, the experience, it just shines through. But look at Foles on these blue stairs. Oh,
well,
he's gone.
I mean, you can look at him, but now he's dead. So you'll have to look at him and his grayed out health bar on the left side of your screen. DarkZero have seemingly stopped SSG's aggressive entry into the map and are meeting them full force. This is very similar to what we saw on Villa, is that you take chances and you swing early based on the intel that you have. Your opponent is not ready for it. It's actually quite interesting to see the way that these teams really do balance each other out, because so far they've been reading each other's strengths and weaknesses quite well, and because of that, it's allowing them to gain an upper hand in situations that present themselves, just like when you see Eclipse step out of line and get slapped away by Rampy. 40 seconds left in this round. DarkZero still has the lead, but there is a potential for SSG to get a pick here and even things out.
Yeah, I would say that this time it's kind of in reverse, where DarkZero in the driver's seat, they got the angles, they got the mad advantage, and they got a bulletproof for information. So, no diffuser in hands of SSG on side, as Skies is down below now. Now making his way to the big window rappel, but it's a little bit too late. 4 versus 2, no health to be had.
Ooh.
Hyper finds a nice shot. Skies, last man staying on the rappel, but Pamba continues the headshot madness.
Almost another flawless round. Yes. A single pick was all SSG could muster in that round. And you go from the first 3 rounds being largely Space Station dominance. They get the opening pick twice. They get the diffuser planted all 3 times. They look like they are trying to go out of this in a hurry and seal the deal in a 2-0. But then guess what happens? Pambazoo catches fire. He was good in round number 3, but not good enough. He gets the opening pick in round number 4, stays alive, his team ends up winning the round, does the same thing here, gets 2 very high-profile picks while holding a key component just off-site, watching the window inside of VIP, and he has been the real standout performer through both maps now at this point. When DarkZero picked up Pambazoo, they picked him up from what I think a lot of people in our community would consider to be obscurity. But they saw something in here that they thought could be developed, that could be cultivated into a top-tier performer, a world beater, and his performance in fragged on Villa with 17 kills through those 15 rounds. Now he's got 5 through 5 rounds, so he's just performing above 1 kill a round, which might not seem like a lot, but in Rainbow Six Siege, that's incredibly impressive.
That is very impressive, and most importantly, it also speaks to consistency. It's not, it is hard, but it's not as hard to be good for 1 round as it is to be pretty damn good almost every single round. And having consistent throughput in each and every given round also means that you have a stable in your team. And every single team relies on that one player to do that for them. It can be a support player, it can be an injury, it doesn't really matter, but stability is key. And DarkZero, as an organization, as a team, they're not afraid of investing into young, unproven talent. NJR, sure, he was a hot shot coming to NAL, but he was young, didn't have that much experience. Pambazoo gets taken off with a hot nade from hot and cold. Also a player looking very hot, who is thriving so far. But thriving is SSG, 3 kills on the day, and they're storming through Kitchen.
Oh my goodness, this is just the fields upon which they reap, and a flawless could be in the cards, as Hyper will be the only player left from DZ. And boy, oh boy, he sees Rampy and just manages to make it work. It was a bit sloppy, 26 bullets required, but he still gets the job done. He's got a lot more to do. 4 more bodies from Space Station. Utility to spare, flashes, grenades still on the board, smokes as well. 1 adrenal surge remaining. You still got all the hard breach from Bosco as well. Diffuser being planted by Skies. Will Hyper be able to get there in time? No. And the diffuser technically didn't get planted either, but I mean, you could still give it to them because it was on as close to 0.00.
Nope.
It doesn't count.
Nope.
But it's close. The first half is in the books now, Nick. 4-2 in favor of Space Station. This is a graceful recovery after they had lost a bit of momentum through that 3rd to 4th round, and then those 2 from DZ, nearly 2 back-to-back flawless rounds from DarkZero. Really impressive stuff, but what does Space Station do to turn it around and conquer that 6th and final attack of theirs?
I mean, honestly, SSG now on the side swap, they will now need to move into, what shall we say? Coordination. I think the way they played their attacks is how they should try and approach their defenses as well, because it was pretty much a night and day difference from Villa, where it seemed kind of disjointed on their defenses and they were swinging solo and didn't find much success, where DarkZero looked like they had that cohesion and teamwork in the body system. I want to see SSG take 2 players back to back and just say, we're going to make our way over here, we're going to find some opponents, we're going to see if we can fight them, and if we can't, we're not going to challenge too much, but if we can fight, we will hold our ground. And I think DarkZero, in reflection of that, did a very good job in that area. Now SSG, it is Coastline. You need to fight for the map, you need to fight for the ground, and you need to figure out exactly where that area on the map is. It doesn't have to be in the same location every single time for each specific bomb site, but you do need to choose the area that you care about the most outside the bomb site.
With that explanation done and the first half done, let's take a look back at what transpired over those 6 rounds. The first half scoreline obviously on your screen, 4-2 in favor of Space Station. Starting on what many would refer to as the advantageous side here in the Spanish map of Coastline. With that, they didn't get it in the final round, but they were as close to planting a diffuser as was humanly possible.
Yep.
Space Station were able to confirm 3 diffusers planted and picked up 3 of the 6 first bloods. DarkZero picked up 3 of the first bloods as well, and also got a flawless round to boot, though Space Station came very close to 3 flawless rounds of their own, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, as we say time and time again. First pick now on defense for Space Station goes in their favor, and out goes Hyper on that Yana, a pivotal operator. Like we said before, when Space Station lost Yana early, you lose out on the Geminis, you lose out on a good gun, you lose out on grenades. That can be a pretty big hole to find yourself in.
Yeah, but thankfully DarkZero running both the Finka, so Gun 6, 2 grenades, SSG 2 more grenades, and Canadian is on floors as well. There is no lack of soft breach utility from the side of DarkZero, which means Hyper, he can rest down below, sit in the camp the entire round, and his teammates can still clear out this shield, and so they do. But
lots of destruction, like you pointed out, is a good thing.
where do you go from here? You don't have a hard breach, so these walls that are reinforced into Hookah Lounge, they will stay reinforced throughout the entirety of this round. Typically, this is where you use the Hibana or the Ace to get an angle up onto those walls to apply pressure onto side. Get on that big repel onto pool table, get on the hookah window repel as well. But no, it's just a door, and what are you gonna do here? You can't just walk in.
Toxic canister burned early from Bosco. Still about a third of the round left. DZ want to break on in, but they don't know exactly what that next move is. I guess NJR just walks in, by the way, and he pulverizes Bosco. And another as well on the skies. What a play! DZ commanding control and demanding respect from Space Station as SSG finds their own way to fight back. The diffuser still down, as you are pointing out, and it's picked up. Rampy unable to get back to the bomb site. Eclipse shuts him down. Fultz will need to be the one to stop this. And a beautiful shot onto Eclipse. It's Pampazoo versus Fultz, and it's Pampazoo to win it out. This boy has been on fire all day, and a potential 5-2 scoreline for SSG. Not in the cards. It's 4-3. Still Space Stations, but a triumphant start on attack for DZ.
I don't understand what I just witnessed. Diffuser is outside of Hookah, bottom balcony, so outside of Pink Bar essentially. Nobody picked it up from DarkZero. NJR walks in, gets 2 incredible kills, great flick into the guy playing inside a vase, and then they all fall, they trade back and forth. It comes down to a 1 versus 1 because Pampa has to go back outside the bomb site, pick up Diffuser, go back into the bomb site. And of course, he ends up getting around, but what on earth is happening? There's no hard breach, they walk in, and it's just a chaos. Nobody on big window repel either. It's just gunfights and gunfights and gunfights, and, well, I guess you did say it, Parker. It's all about fighting your opponent on Coastline and fighting both DarkZero and SSG are at full effect. And this bombsite penthouse is no different because, once again, it's all about getting into those gunfights. SSG bringing a mute. That's the one criticism I had for DarkZero when they played Penthouse, so very happy to see them do it. This now means DarkZero will have to go below or throw a pretty nice nade to get rid of it.
I just can't believe the cojones on NJR to just walk into the middle of the bomb site, by the way. Just walked in.
Literally.
You spent all that time setting up a defense, and he just walked in. That's it. And NJR with those 2 huge picks cracks the whole bomb site open. And like that, DZ are able to steamroll SSG through the remainder of the round and take it. The site rotation, now that we are in the midst of round number 8, has been quite fascinating to watch. First, all 4 bomb sites have been played so far here on this map. Kitchen has been played twice. Hookah has been played twice. Penthouse now has been played twice. Double bars played once. This is a fascinating rotation that we are seeing come out from these teams, and that was part of the desire of the developers when they changed this, was to bring a bomb site like Penthouse Theater back into the meta, and with the fact that it's been played the same as almost every other bomb site, leads you to believe it's viable at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it shows 2 things. 1, great rework from Ubisoft, of course, and 2, the depth that both of these teams go to in their prep and in their practice as they choose to have all 4 bomb sites as a preference for themselves. Of course, Bar getting the least of it, but Penthouse being brought up at the line of the top played bomb sites. Flashbangs, nades go out, clears the shield and the ADSs. That's very nicely done. The jammer, of course, on that double reinforced wall will have to go next. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck outside. And this time, we do see Hibana being played.
You talked about that hard destruction, how pivotal it is.
Oh, that's smart. They're going to make a small hole like a Maverick, then nade through it probably, instead of just, yeah, this jammer here should be cleared.
Wait to see if they can do anything with it. Grenade gets tossed on out, and it's immediately shot away. So a swing and a miss. Bosco very wary of what to do next, and he has no leap through. He might be playing to die at this point, and if he goes down swinging, he'll see who he can bring with him. Halfway point of the round. Space Station sitting comfortably right now outside of Bosco. As for DZ, they're at full HP. They've got adrenal surges as well to boot should they want to use them. There they go, Eclipse. First one goes off, give a bit more staying power to the rest of the team as Bosco is trapped in this position. We've talked about it now before, but it doesn't look like all of those X-Kairos went off, by the way. That jigsaw piece on the wall might prove to be DZ's downfall if they can't get into the map.
That is one of the most heartbreaking moments when you're an attacker, when the breach is open and you can basically walk right through. But the jigsaw puzzle, it creates this nasty situation where I don't think you're going to be able to fit inside, which means it's only an angle.
Oh, DZ gets that opening pick. These teams neck and neck as to who can claim the first blood. Down goes Bosco. He's a superhero for this team, but he has not had the impact that I think he wants on this particular map. The lead for DZ will grow. 30 seconds left, and Fultz gets spotted. A nice set of eyes on NJR as he sees the head of him. SSG being punished all across the map. Requires Rampy to get back into the bomb site as he runs on up. A nice shot on the Hyper and pivots around the deployable shield and the alibi decoy. Down goes Rampy to Panbazoo. A double kill again, and Skies will not be able to clutch out. It's a tie game between these 2 teams.
It's interesting to look at the dynamic difference, right? DarkZero clearly playing for kills. Nobody in Big Window Repel, nobody in the roof to drop the bathroom hatch, didn't open up the soft wall inside of VIP to enable the plant. They were simply saying, we got the numbers, we got more guns, we're gonna find where the defenders are and take them out. Where SSG, even in that 4 versus 4, 3 versus 3, they're clearly playing for a different task as they want to get the bomb down as much as possible.
It's kills versus control.
Yeah.
Is what it really boils down to here.
Objectives, yeah.
And DZ as a team are very proficient at getting kills. We highlighted NJR, we highlighted Hyper. We've talked about Panbazoo enough to last us the rest of the year, which is only,
Not much left.
It's only a couple weeks, by the way.
That's crazy, actually, when, like, December, yeah.
Thoughts on saying on December 30th and December 31st, thoughts on saying, see you next year? Yes or no?
Sure.
Sure, there you go. See,
Yeah,
why not?
sure, why not?
But no, we've talked about the DZ roster well enough. Everybody's showing up in a variety of ways. Now, Panbazoo obviously has been the story for this DZ team so far today. He has been a cold-blooded killer. 9 kills through about to be 9 rounds again. Beating that 1 kill per round average, which is so hard to do in Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
So he's showing up. that gives his team a fighting chance. And he's making a lot of these opportunities on his own. When he was on defense, he was the one that was taking those first engagements without real support from the rest of his team. Having a player who can do that is hard to find. And because he's doing that, it's giving DZ a fighting chance, even when Space Station, in many of these rounds, might be the more coordinated team.
Having a team or having a player do that successfully time and time again is incredibly hard to come by, especially I'd also say the entry role and the lurking role, arguably the two hardest roles in Rainbow Six Siege, depending on how you look at it. It requires the most amount of game sense, reading the situation, understanding the communication from your teammates to draw a painting or a picture of exactly what's going on, and then utilizing that correctly as the round progresses. Panbasu, very young talent. We talk about it time and time again. It's kind of talking about it almost too much, but Hyper, we can talk about this guy as well. Opening kill with a nade from below, I believe. We've seen that before, but they're actually on side Parker.
Oh my goodness, they're right here. They're not knocking on the door. They're ripping the whole door off the hinges. Hyper can't outduel Hot and Cold though, but the diffuser being planted by Eclipse. Another grenade finds its mark. The gun's not doing the job, but the explosives certainly are. Panbasu walks away with just a single HP, but it's good enough to buy the rest of his team some time. Eclipse now the next one to suffer, but he outduels Skies. And Rampy in a 1v3 is all Space Station has left to hope for. He's got a real tough job ahead of him. Creeping up on the last player that he needs to kill. No, Eclipse holding the angle. He wins it out. It's 3 in a row for DarkZero and 5 rounds in the performance. You don't need to be a professional commentator or a coach to understand that. But we saw that same look on the face of Space Station a number of times back in Map 1 on Villa. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they are mentally out of the game. They hung tight with DarkZero, the team that looked better throughout all of Villa, despite the fact that Space Station ended up eking out that victory. So there's still time for them to be able to correct this, but you're absolutely right. What do they do? If you're Lycan, what are you saying to your team to rectify the issues that have presented themselves throughout the course of this map? Because it certainly looks like you have very little confidence in your ability to defend Coastline right now.
I mean, the first thing I would talk about is obviously the obvious statement, which is our early game kind of sucks. We keep losing players in areas that we don't necessarily need, or we don't have any refrag ability options to trade back that man count. The strategy from SSG, their bomb site setups, honestly haven't been terrible. This time around, it's a hookah defense. Last time, DarkZero did not bring a hard breach. They showed the Hibana, 6-picked the Ace, and of course, now SSG, they're bringing the mute jammer. Why? The walls we spoke about earlier into Hookah Lounge, they're gonna get denied by the jammers, which means if DC will do the same similar attack, but with a hard breach, SSG has done their job, and look at the vertical holes into Pink Bar. They can peel off the Selma charges from below. They're so prepared for this. This is a great start for SSG.
Well, I mean, you've set the expectations where they may be, but sometimes practice is not how things happen in reality. So you can be as prepared as you want, but Space Station need to follow up on that, because the last time we thought that there was a good defense from Space Station, NJR just walked right into the bomb site, if you'll recall. So little things can happen, and DZ need to be reactive as to how they want to deal with this.
I mean, already now we saw Panbasu throw a Twitch drone down the drone hole from the roof, and they got the jammer and they got the ADSs. Canadian making quick work of the cocktail wall, but it's not going to be a hooker attack at all. They've spent all their 3 Selma charges on the cocktail side of things.
Interestingly enough, no hard breach availability remaining, as there's no can opener or that secondary hard breach gadget, as it's referred to as, available for DarkZero. So they're going to have to live right now and exist with what they've done to that wall. Another toxic canister tossed out early by Bosco, same as before when SSG defended here.
I am curious to see if this is more of like a distraction play from DarkZero. It looked like a...
Do they think that there's an attack happening here? Because Hot and Cold is in the position where a lot of that focus seemed to be. Space Station might have been acting on bad information there.
DarkZero are kind of everywhere. Aqua Balcony down in Kitchen's, Panbasu lurking around alone, so they're going to be striking from multiple angles at once. This is all about timing from DarkZero.
Well, we're just past the halfway mark, and the only player on either team to take any real damage is Skies. Hyper's looking to add somebody else from Space Station to that list, but he's not able to do too much. DZ, excellent on these opening picks, and they take down Hot and Cold. That was the Aruni who was playing upstairs inside of Aqua. He's no more. Fultz had tossed out his Nitro Cell earlier on, and from our vantage point, we see the silhouettes, and we know that there's 2 players from DZ just lording over him right now. very close to being able to put some pressure onto this bomb site.
Panda's going to be a huge key member of this round. When DarkZero goes to their attack for their push, that's when Pambasu has to strike if he chooses to stick around. He has the opportunity, and NGR has to kill.
Really remarkable stuff from DarkZero here. The timeout from Space Station not paying off just yet, but the time still favoring SSG. It continues to tick down, but the bodies will drop continuously. Fultz is the next one to join. Bosco and Rampy in a 2v5 with Eclipse planting the diffuser. He's almost done. They'll double up. Hyper says no. And how about another flawless round for DarkZero to move to map point?
Yeah, map point. They were also planting, actually, so only a few seconds later, it would have been a flawless round with a plant that's basically the cherry on top, and you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Pambasu didn't stick around downstairs in kitchen. He actually made it outside the kitchen window and joined his teammate on the hookah balcony, making sure the body system was well functioning. He thought, why should I be alone and vulnerable downstairs when I'm not needed there necessarily? It's a great flank opportunity, but he's alone, and if he got taken out, you're just losing a player for free.
You talked about how well structured that defense was from Space Station. What went wrong, Nick?
I mean, first of all, DarkZero, they didn't attack it. So maybe perhaps when they came up to the hookah balcony, they saw very quickly that the setup from SSG actually favored if they were to go attack it. So instead of just attacking what they had set up and practiced for, what they had set up for, they said, you know what, let's go to the roof, breach cocktail, drop aqua balcony, but we're gonna keep one guy outside hookah balcony, cut the line into vase, we're gonna keep Pambasu downstairs in kitchen, make sure the flank is safe, and if we need, he can walk up that staircase. And if anything, this is just DarkZero reading SSG and recognizing where their strengths lie in their bomb site defense. And now we're gonna see another bomb site being played from SSG as they're going to double bar with a mirror on the board.
This is the first defense for Space Station here on the double bar bomb site. They have now played every single site on the map, same as we saw from DarkZero. The rotation from Space Station up to this point is a loss on hookah, a loss on penthouse, a loss on kitchen, another loss on hookah. And if you're a fan of DarkZero, you want to hear a loss on double bars as well, because that would seal the deal on this map and send us to Clubhouse, aka Dub House, a map that both teams have players on that are historically really impressive on. And of course, if you're going to be settling a score between these two teams, it's got to be on Clubhouse. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still plenty to play, but the timeout from Space Station did not work, and they now find themselves on the Razor's Edge here on Coastline.
And I don't think DarkZero is going to take a timeout if this round goes correctly, as that should be the last round for them. They're making quick work so far, taking penthouse control, and I mean, it looks like a basic roam clear. They got verticality, they got the sledge on NJR, and oh, never mind. I was thinking for a second maybe there's going to be a gunfight between Rampy and the guy above, but no, Hyper making his way into Aqua, and they already have pretty much full top floor control as NGR is also on hookah balcony. This is very, very good for DarkZero.
These rounds tend to be brisk affairs, so once the first body hits the floor, it's likely that more will follow quite quickly. We'll see exactly what they can do. You talked about the top floor control that DarkZero has. Well, there's still one player that needs to be dispatched, and it's Fultz. And that Roni making a telltale sign leads DZ to know that somebody's still playing in this spot. A grenade will go off at his feet, but Fultz only takes minor damage. It's just a scratch on the paint, but Hyper swings on it, and I'm sure SSG will be unhappy about that one.
That is some aggression. I thought for a second that was a clone, and I can see everything else. Canadian finds a second on the skies. That is the Mute and the Aruni off the board. Hot and Cold is injured, also confirmed by Canadian, making it 5 versus 2, almost a 5 versus 1, as Bosco has almost no health left to stand on.
Well, DZ have done it all. It's all over but the crying at this point, leaving us looking likely to go to Clubhouse. And what an utterly dominant half. It was a flawless on the previous round. Eclipse will fall. Bosco gets the down, but not the secure. He needs to finish off the last player, but he won't do it.
It still counts.
Two flawless rounds in a row. 3 for the entire map. DarkZero putting on a clinic, and absolutely embarrassing Space Station. That gives us a third map between these teams as they tie themselves 1 apiece, winning their respective maps.
Very impressive, and I will say, Pambasu